Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. Purdue got a well-timed bye week, and now it hopes to take advantage of a critical month of October, beginning with Illinois on Saturday. I'll take stock of Purdue after 4 games, preview Purdue's matchup with the Fighting Illini, and talk about how big of a month this is coming up here on the show today. If you don't already, be sure to follow the show on Twitter at BoilersBeyond. It is a busy time over there. Football is in full swing. We're in the heart of football season. Basketball games get played this month. Come follow there. Join the conversation. Send questions in. You can do it there on Twitter at BoilersBeyond. You can email me, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. From now all the way through basketball season and beyond, we'll be here every week talking all things Purdue. I'm not going to go into a big rewatch analysis of the Purdue-Notre Dame game. It's a week and a half removed at this point. And the way the game unfolded, there's not that much interesting to talk about from a rewatch standpoint. Yes, I rewatched it. Yes, it was exactly what it looked like. Purdue did some good things on offense. Purdue left some points on the field. Purdue's defense didn't stand a chance, and it couldn't put any pressure on Notre Dame. And when you're in a game like that, when you're a 25, 26-point underdog, especially on the road, if you don't put pressure on the opposition with your defense matching your offense, that when your offense is scoring, your defense is getting stops and really putting pressure on the opponent, making that heavy home favorite crowd get nervous, allow that nervous energy to build up inside the stadium you're playing in. If you don't do that, it's not going to happen. And it was never going to happen for Purdue. So it hit the bye week at 2-2, wins over Ball State and Southern Illinois, losses to USC and Notre Dame. This is exactly where Purdue expected to be at this point. If you were prognosticating Purdue's season, anything else was going to be a pretty big variance from 2-2 at this point. Anything less than that, if Purdue was 1-3, it would be a catastrophe. If it had lost to that Ball State team that is, no offense to the Cardinals, but just pathetic. It's really bad. It's a really bad FBS team, that would have been a disaster. And if Purdue lost to an FCS team in Southern Illinois, albeit what looks like one of the better teams in the FCS, if Purdue had lost that game, this would be a disaster. This would be a really bad start, and I don't want to sound too harsh or make too big of judgments, but it'd have been a really rough blow and rough omen for the Barry Odom era. And if Purdue was 3-1, we would be talking about fans doing cartwheels all the way down State Street. That USC game, I went back and looked at some of the advanced metrics that, really show that USC probably should have won that game by more. Purdue did miss some opportunities, so did USC. And then the Notre Dame game, Purdue just kind of gets splattered. So at this point, Purdue is about what we expected Purdue to be from a record standpoint. But some things have gone a little bit differently when you start to break it down by position groups and parts of the game. And we'll start with the positives here. For me personally, Ryan Brown has exceeded my expectations. Now, I did not expect massive things from Ryan Brown this year. I did not expect him to be a top half of the Big Ten quarterback. And whether he is that or not, I'm not sure. It's awfully early. Right now, probably not. There are some good quarterbacks in this league this year, but he's done some really good things. 63% completion, 259 yards per game. That's a pretty high number. 6 touchdowns to 5 picks. There have been ups and downs. You look at the interceptions in the end zone against USC. 2 of those that really handcuffed and shot down any hope Purdue had at pulling an upset in that game. That was a low point. Especially the second one after it had happened in the first quarter. Of those 5 picks, 4 of them have been from bad decisions. The other one came from the offensive line, giving him no chance. And we'll talk about that offensive line on the other side of this. But Ryan Brown has really shown resolve. That's the word I keep coming back to. You're probably tired of hearing me use it. I need to expand my vocabulary a bit for him, but he's been gritty. He's bounced back from bad throws. He's really competed well. Throwing the ball downfield, pushing the ball downfield. He's done some okay things. He's hit some stuff across the middle. He hasn't been afraid to throw across the middle, which can sometimes be an area of concern, an area that young quarterbacks aren't comfortable attacking. He's done a nice job. He's done a nice job. I don't think he has elite arm talent. No one's going to mistake him for Drew Brees back there with just having a cannon, but he's able to overcome that. The ball doesn't have great zip. The ball can seem to float sometimes. That too comes with that he's throwing off his back foot a lot, sometimes out of necessity, sometimes out of choice. He's been effective. I think in a perfect world, you would like to use his legs more, but this isn't a perfect world. Purdue needs to keep him healthy. The biggest question that needs answered over the next 7 weeks for Purdue is Ryan Brown your guy going into 2026? Or does Purdue need to go into the portal to look for a replacement or at least competition? That answer needs to be had by Purdue's bye week in late November before the Indiana game. That's when you're going to start really looking at who you're going to attack out of the portal, what your areas of priority are, because I don't want to say that Purdue's going to get a pass for whatever happens in the next 8 games, but expectations aren't super high for this season's Purdue team. Next year, Purdue's going to be expected to do more. I don't know that Purdue's going to be expected to, go to the playoff or anything, but Purdue needs to know, is this an area that we're going to have to devote significant resources to in the portal or not? And you need Ryan Brown healthy to make that determination. I think the wide receiving core is helping him out. It looks legit. The passing game as a whole has been really good. When you look at the quarterback and the pass catchers, Michael Jackson has kind of been your steady veteran. He hasn't gotten a ton of run at other places, at USC and Georgia in his career, but he looks the part of someone who has been around good offenses, has been around good teams, and has some experience that he's brought with him. He's a bit of a security blanket, especially now with George Burren out. He really like Michael Jackson. Nitro Tuggle is emerging as a really promising young piece. There's a lot to like about his game, but you're starting to see why these recruiting services were really high on him. He has some natural ability there that's fun to watch. Armad Branch, E.J. Horton have had their flashes, and this is all happening without Denylon Morissette and without Chauncey Magwood. And sometimes it's hard because when guys are injured at the start of the season, we're here 4 weeks in, and we know these guys are still on the roster, and we know during fall camp, we sat here and talked about them being projected contributors. But through 4 games, we haven't seen them one bit. What's reality for these guys? Are they coming back? When they come back, what type of impact will they make? We don't know the answers to this yet, but if they do come back and they are good, they're able to make an impact, that even continues to help you more with where you're at. So we'll see how long George Burhen is out. That's a big deal. He is Purdue's only real proven option at tight end. The Rico Walker kid from Auburn seems kind of raw. Drop touchdown up in South Bend. I know there's optimism about his potential. The other 2 guys feel like more of blockers. So we'll see what that looks like, and we'll see what Purdue does at that position, because it does need the blocking. It does need the blocking assistance that comes from the tight end position. I think Manny Powell, Charles Correa have been a positive area. The linebacking play at Purdue hasn't been great for a while. The last handful of years, Jalen Alexander did some good things. Derek Barnes did some good things at linebacker when he played up, but you got to go back to Marcus Bailey, Jawan Bentley. Linebacker play at Purdue hasn't been great recently. These guys have been really good. They each have 23 tackles, tied for third on the team. They're not Nakobe Dean out there. They're not complete freaks, but they do a nice job. You feel decent about that spot, and that's something you haven't said at Purdue for a while. And the same deal goes for kicking and punting. Spencer Porath, 7 for 7 on field goal attempts. He's been great. Jack McAllister, he's top 10 in the nation in punting average, distance-wise. 6 of his 11 inside the 20-yard line. 6 of his 11 for more than 50 yards. He's been one of Purdue's best players, bar none. If you're just looking at these guys as what they've accomplished at their position, he might be Purdue's best, MVP so far this season. So the kicking game, one that has not been a huge strength for Purdue in recent years, looks really nice here. On the negative side of things, the offensive line is, I don't want to say it's code red at this point, but there are some real issues there. The run push is concerning. Purdue is second to last in the Big Ten and outside the top 100 in the FBS in rushing. 3.1 yards per carry, less than 110 yards per game. I don't know what the yards per carry is if you take out Southern Illinois, but it gets below 3 at that point. And that's not good against FCS competition. It's been a common refrain for Purdue over the years, and oddly enough, the year that Purdue ran the ball the best recently was the Graham Harrell year with Tyrone Tracy and Devin Maccabee. That team actually ran the ball pretty decently, but the offensive line isn't generating a push. It's not a strong unit. The right side especially has struggled, and Purdue's running backs don't have a huge chance back there. Devin Maccabee fights hard. He fights for every yard. This is not a group of Herschel Walkers back there. Maccabee has 70 carries on the year. Your next most is Antonio Harris at 12. Purdue obviously feels that Devin Maccabee is by far its best option back there. I'll be curious to see if that changes at all coming out of the bye week, because right now, Purdue's offense is one-dimensional, and I don't know that that's sustainable for long. Ryan Brown has done good things so far. He has been a positive, but you can't rely on him to be your one-trick pony for this offense to accomplish a whole heck of a lot. All around on defense, it hasn't been pretty. Purdue hasn't forced a punt in its last 24 defensive possessions, and yes, there's been a strip sack in there. There have been a couple fourth down stops, but that's a problem. Back-to-back full games, plus the fourth quarter against Southern Illinois, without forcing a punt. Only one turnover forced this season. That was the strip sack in that game at Notre Dame. 0 interceptions. The strip sack was nice. That was Miles Slusher on an extra blitz. But, turnovers are fluky. I don't always like looking at forcing turnovers as a great reflection of your defense, because the other team has to commit mistakes. But at some point, it's not a coincidence. And Purdue's defense stunk last year. It only forced 5 turnovers. Through 4 games this year, Purdue's only forced 1 turnover. The math is telling you something here. There's a reason it's kind of rare that this few turnovers are forced. The pass rush has been weak. Nothing from C.J. Madden or Trey Smith. Those guys were projected as your starters coming into the year. C.J. Nunnally's done some all right things, but Breon Ishmael's been quiet. when you don't have much of a pass rush, unless you're bringing a bunch of extra pressure, your defense gets put in a real bind. You're asking an awful lot of your defensive backs at that point, and this is not a great defensive backfield, especially at corner. You've seen some coverage busts there. You've seen them get beat vertically a lot over the last 2 games. Even when Purdue drops a bunch of guys in coverage, someone comes open because Purdue can't get home on a base blitz. All in all, the month of October is going to determine how we view Purdue this season. Illinois, at Minnesota, at Northwestern, Rutgers. That's what is ahead of Purdue here over the next 4 weeks. Will Purdue be favored in any of these games? I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not. Northwestern on the road, maybe. Rutgers at home, maybe. Not the other two. It's not crazy, though, to envision Purdue winning 1, 2, dare to dream 3 of these games. And if you can do that, if you can win a couple of these games, it's a heck of a month. I don't know that I'd predict that right now, but it's far from out of the realm of possibility. And it's a really big chance that Purdue has ahead of it to make a bit of a statement here starting on Saturday. This episode is brought to you by me. Yes, me. When I'm not watching sports, or more accurately, talking about them, I'm talking insurance with the people of Indiana. As an agent with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, I want to help you protect what you've worked hard to achieve. From home and auto to life and business insurance, I'm here to help you. Give me a call at 317-846-5861 or email me at jordan.jones@infarmbureau.com, and let's protect you from life's everyday risks. The battle for the cannon on Saturday, Purdue and Illinois. Illinois is kind of a tricky one to make sense of, if you ask me. It went 10-3 last year. It had a bowl win over South Carolina, and it brought back a ton from that roster. 16 starters back, a lot of the key players back, but as you'll remember, it needed some good fortune last year. To beat a 1-11 Purdue team, it took a long pass play on the game's final snap for Illinois to beat Rutgers. There was a lot of optimism in Champaign entering this season, and so far, I'd say the results are a little bit mixed. You had a resounding win for Illinois. It was +5 in turnovers at Duke. It got that win comfortably by 20-some points. Illinois had some key pieces out in the secondary, but it got shellacked by Indiana. 53-point loss in Bloomington. Humiliating. But then Illinois bounces back, gets back to Champaign last week. Fox's big noon kickoff is there. Illini hit a walk-off field goal to beat USC, as Illinois was a touchdown underdog at home. What's the reality over there in Champaign-Urbana? I'm not quite sure. I will say this, I'm a little surprised that the spread on this game is less than 10 points. Last I saw, it's at 9.5. I think it opened around 8.5. I thought it would be a little bit closer to 14. I am very rarely surprised by Vegas numbers, and we're only talking 4.5 points here, but that is a lot when it comes to betting on this stuff. I was pretty surprised that this game opened as tight of a spread as it did. Back in the summer, we had Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews on the podcast, and he was pretty low on Illinois. And when you look at some of his thoughts around the country right now, he's been pretty good. He was low on Illinois, though. And I think a lot of the gambling world was in the same boat relative to the AP poll that had Illinois as a top 10 team early on this year. If you look at the power ratings and how teams would be favored, Illinois was never close to that. The spread feels a little small. But if you want to be fair here, this is the classic trap game on the schedule for Illinois. You have Purdue coming off a bye. This is 6 weeks in a row with a game for Illinois. That's a big advantage for Purdue. 2 weeks to prepare, a week to rest up, get some guys healthy, although Purdue doesn't have exactly a ton of guys that are just dinged up a little bit. And Illinois is on a stretch here. Primetime NBC game against Indiana on the road. Fox's big noon kickoff was in Champaign last week. Had the pregame show there, all of that. And Fox will be back for big noon in Champaign again next week for Illinois taking on Ohio State. In the middle of all that, trip over on I-74 past the Beef House to West Lafayette to take on Purdue. A noon kick on BTN. Not exactly big noon kickoff. Luke Altmaier's a really nice starting quarterback. I like his growth over time. I remember seeing him a couple years ago in that game Purdue won pretty comfortably at Ross-Ade, and he wasn't great. He's gotten to be a really good college quarterback. I don't know what type of Sunday potential he has, but he's a really nice college quarterback. Came in from Ole Miss, third year starting there, 71% completion, 11 touchdowns, no picks so far this year. You can't ask for anything more. Illinois still has a little bit of Brett Bielema in it. It wants to run the ball. It wants to establish the run. It's not afraid to air it out. That's a little bit different than what Bielema had at Wisconsin, for instance. But this has been a pretty good Illinois offense. And with Illinois looking to run the ball a lot, it's really challenging Purdue at what it struggled the most with 2 weeks ago. I thought Purdue defended the run okay against Ball State, all things considered. Southern Illinois, not bad. USC, Purdue did a pretty good job for most of that game, but the dam broke last week, and it was ugly. Purdue's got to clean that up. The loss of TJ Lindsey on the interior of the defensive line, that's a real one. That's one that Purdue feels. Illinois' defense, again, okay. Opponents are throwing the ball pretty well. Indiana skews that a little bit, but Illinois has had some guys in and out. The top corner is out for Illinois, but I think everyone else is still around. 65% completion for opponents. That's higher than you'd like. But as a whole here, man, Brett Bielema has done a nice job with the Illinois program since he took over back ahead of 2021. It was a really interesting hire when Illinois made it because the Arkansas tenure went really poorly for him. That job's open now for the third time since he got let go. Tough place. It's a really tough place down there. It's gone really well over there. It's been everything that Illinois could have wanted it to be. There's stability there. It feels sustainable. It's a good program. He's a good coach. It's a similar program to Purdue, to where over the past 20, 30, 40 years, there's been a lot of average to below average football. But when you look at recent times, he's been their Jeff Brom a little bit. He's gotten them to respectability. He's gotten them to a place where it's competitive. Illinois has not taken that next step and taken down the upper echelon teams, but it's doing a good job of winning the games it's supposed to and making Illinois football fun for its fans. This is a big opportunity. Historically, this is a 50-50 series. 100 meetings of this, Purdue leads by 2. This is one of the better teams, though, that Illinois has had recently, and Purdue's program is not at the level that it wants to be. As we know, in college football, things can change really quickly. Things can change in the blink of an eye. And pulling off a win like this on Saturday would be a really big deal for Purdue as it tries to rebuild this program under Barry Odom, as it tries to get to the point where it's not looked at as one of the lower level programs in the Big Ten. It's not like it's going to lead SportsCenter. It's not like it's going to be the first thing they're talking about on all the national podcasts. Would it even get a mention? I don't know. Probably because Tom Fornelli's an Illinois guy on Cover 3. But aside from that, it's an off-the-radar game. But for Purdue, around the area, around the Big Ten, that would be something that could really help kickstart some momentum that Purdue desperately wants. Is that expected? Is Purdue expected to win this game? No. Should you go in there saying it's a complete failure if Purdue loses? Probably not, but you do you. I don't tell you how to be a fan. But in the big picture, under Barry Odom, these are the programs that Purdue needs to leapfrog to get to where it wants to be on the proverbial Big Ten totem pole. The Illinois, the Indianas, the Minnesotas, the Michigan States, those are the teams that Purdue is competing with. This is a prime example of one of them. Purdue's got to find some balance on offense, and it has to force punts on defense. We'll see what Purdue does at tight end. That's thin, and I don't know that you really want to go with just 10 personnel or 20 personnel. I don't know that you're dying to do that. Illinois' secondary is healthier. I think it's still a little bit vulnerable, but if Purdue can't run the football and Illinois can just drop more and more guys in coverage, then you're putting Ryan Brown in a really precarious spot. He's still a younger starter. I know this is now going to be his 7th start, but you're still asking a lot of him to go out and single-handedly win you games. And can Purdue find something that works defensively? That's the question. If that answer is no, then it really doesn't matter what Purdue does on offense. It's just an awfully tall task to overcome. It's a big opportunity. It's a big opportunity to kick off a big opportunity of a month. This is what will define Barry Odom's first year. The next 9 weeks are a bear. You have 7 games in a row. The Big Ten schedule did Purdue no favors here with no rest. The bye week comes at just a nonsensical time after 7 straight weeks of a game with just 1 week to go. Okay, it is what it is, I guess. But this is the definition. This is where this can turn into a Jeff Brom, a Joe Tiller year 1 where you think, oh man, this is going in the right direction. This is clear as day. Or it can make it a little more hazy, where I still think we've seen enough to know that Purdue's headed in the right direction. That also says a lot about where it was left, but you don't quite have the tangible on-field results yet. We're going to find out here in this month of October. That's all I've got for today, but be sure to subscribe. Throughout this month of October, we'll be talking Purdue football twice a week. We've got basketball stuff in there too. We've got some fun things to talk about to preview the season on the hardwood. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Follow the show on Twitter, @BoilersBeyond. You can always send in questions there, or you can email me, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. Safe travels to those of you going up, down, whatever direction it may be, to West Lafayette this week. Enjoy the game. It's going to be a hot one again on Saturday. Until next time, guys, take care.